Hey guys, I wanted to make another video. Actually, I want to make a couple more videos, and I'll tell you why in a second. But first and foremost, I want to thank everybody on Facebook, on Tumblr, on Twitter, and offline in my personal life. Everyone has been extremely supportive, and it's it's been amazing actually to see the kindness and warmth that I've been given. Um, and I want to take that and I want to give something back to you guys. So what I did, I think it was last week, maybe a week and a half ago, I went out through social media and I asked my fellow adoptees to give me some examples of things that had been said to them or situations that they had been in that it had been hurtful to them. Because I've obviously done a video of something that was extremely hurtful to me, and I'm not going to talk about that right now because I'm tired of crying. So I'm going to do something a little different. Anyway, the adoptee community is a community that's largely ignored. You hear groups and there are articles everywhere in newspapers and in magazines, and people talk about the pro-adoption experience all the time on TV and everywhere else. And you always hear from birth families and you hear from adoptive families, and adoptees are the only ones who can tell you what the experience is like from our perspective, and our voice is largely ignored. So I'm going to take the time to talk about some of the things that hurt us. So the response that I got from everyone was, again, overwhelming. So much so that instead of making one video like I thought I was going to do, I'm going to be doing probably more than one. Definitely more than one. I don't know how many more, but anyway, so what I've done is I've gone through some of them and I've compiled, not necessarily the major ones that were given to me, but because I mean, there's just so much to go through. I was flooded with people, honestly, telling me about their experiences, which is fantastic, you know, because I mean, we can sit down and we can talk about homophobia or racism more than we could in the past, but you know, coming out with an adoptee experience that isn't pro-adoption, you face a lot of ridicule. So just it's really awesome that all these people came out and were willing to give their perspectives and their experiences. So like I said, this is not exhaustive, but this is like the first group that came in. So here we go. Now keep in mind, this is not fiction. This is actual things that were said to people or actual situations that they've been in. I'm leaving names out because I don't want these people to face ridicule, and I told them I wouldn't give their names. So here we go. And I quote, "Adoption was God's plan for your life. You just need to learn to accept that." Okay, let's talk about that. Now, remember, I'm doing this to educate. I'm not trying to put anybody down or make anyone feel bad. So, I mean, these are just things to keep in mind, you know. So let's look at that statement. Adoption was God's plan for your life. What if we took the word adoption and we traded it out for something else? Like, trigger warning here. What if you were a parent who lost a child? Horrible car accident. Or you knew someone that was. And you went up to this person and you said, the loss of your child was God's plan for your life. You need to learn to accept that. Seems a little cold, I think. Seems very dismissive of their pain. What about a rape victim? No, rape was God's plan for your life. I just think you need to learn to accept that. It's pretty awful. Faith is something that is used to be supportive to people. You go to church, you know, to feel good. If church was about feeling bad, then not a lot of people would go. I have hair in my mouth. So let's try to be supportive of people. Let's not tear them down, and let's not use God as an excuse to tear them down. Because whether you're Christian or any other faith or no faith at all, that's just really mean and hurtful and dismissive. So let's not do that. Here's another one. Oh, you finally found your mom. She's dead? How do your parents feel? So that one just completely skips the adoptee's pain whatsoever and tries to take the situation from the perspective of the adoptee's parents, whether they're birth or adoptive. So we've just completely ignored the adoptee experience. And that happens a lot, actually, where the adoptee's experience is dismissed in favor of the experience of another member of the triad. If you're not familiar, the triad, it's in no particular order. You get adoptive parents, birth parents, or adoptive family, birth family, and the adoptee. It's the triad. So anytime you hear me refer to triad, that's what I mean. So anyway, it skips the adoptee's perspective, and it just it chooses to accept the needs of the other two members of the triad over the needs of the adoptee. And like I said, that's one reason that I'm doing this video right now, is because that happens a lot. So, oh, here's a big one. I don't know an adoptee, at least with closed records, that really has never had to face this one. You go to a doctor's office, and they give you these forms to fill out, and you sit down and you go to fill out the forms, and, well, if you're an adoptee, all you really have to worry about is, this is my name, this is when I was born, and this is what has happened in my life. You can't fill out anything having to do with your biological family, because you don't know it. So that's great. So you skip that whole section. Sometimes I actually label it at the top. Sorry, I don't have it. I'm adopted. I just get it all out there in the open. You know, and you go and hand it back to the doctor or the receptionist or whatever, and they're like, oh, okay. They give you this little weird look, but whatever. They go about their business. And then you go in and talk to the doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. If you know anything about science in this day and age, you know genetics are a big deal. If you have, what is it? Is it called first relations, maybe? I can't remember, something like that. Where either if your parent, your genetic parent, or a genetic sibling has had a disease like, oh, I don't know, breast cancer, or like pancreatic cancer, or prostate cancer, or cancer, then you should get tested early on in your life to make sure that you're not going to be having issues like that. I think the last study I read that that researched this did a study of 71,000 adoptees, and was it Sweden? I think they did this. 71,000 adoptees, and what they found is that the status of their adoptive parents had zero influence on whether or not they would get one of three major cancers, and then they did colorectal, breast, and prostate, I think was the other one. And they found that if your genetic parent had had the disease, then you were very much more likely to get the disease, and you were more likely to get a disease earlier. So, and that's just one example. So family history is extremely important. And it's always great when you're reminded that, oh, it's just going to be a guessing game for you. We're not sure what's wrong with you, so we're just going to send you through this whole battery of other tests to waste your time, your money, and insurance time, and make everybody's insurance go up higher because you don't have your family history. So that's a big one. And I'll see if I can find that link, and I'll post it up here. I know I probably saved that article because it was very interesting. In fact, it's the largest study I know that has been conducted on adoptees. Anybody else that has information on studies on adoptees, feel free to send them in. I look really goofy doing that. It's like, flutter. All right. Okay. Quote. So you could, like, sleep with your brother / dad and it wouldn't be incest? No, sorry, it's still incest. Okay, first, gross. Why would you? That's gross. Second, you grew up these people, you know, one in the capacity of your father, one in the capacity of your brother, and you want to sleep with them? That's definitely incest. Alright. Quote, my uncle once told my father that he got the wrong pick of the litter. Unquote. That's extremely hurtful. Let's talk about why. First, you're treating the adoptee like they were a puppy in a pet store. That's not cool. Don't do that. No one likes to be demeaned like that. There's two ways that people tend to look at adoptees, especially in popular media. You have adoptees that go good and adoptees that go bad, and if an adoptee goes good, it's because of something that the adoptive parents did, but if the adoptee goes bad, it's because of their genetics. So, you can't have your pie and eat it too, or cake and eat it too. This is not the way things work. People are people, and an adoptee is not good or bad just because, you know, they don't do everything one of their families want. There are plenty of genetically related children who don't do everything their families want them to. So are they not good or bad for the same reasons? That doesn't make any sense. It's singling adoptees out. Not to mention, as I scroll down through my notes here, that that's detrimental to the bonds of family. There's an idea that people like to talk about, well, I don't care if they're adopted or not, they're a part of my family, but then you hear statements like that, and it becomes very apparent that some people really do care whether or not you're blood, or whether or not you're in the family, or perhaps they don't care until something goes wrong or bad, and then all of a sudden that's the excuse. You're either part of the family or you're not. That's it. You're not an adopted daughter, you're not an adopted son, you're either the son or the daughter. Why does adoptee even have to even be in there? Okay, here's 4 in a row here for you, and I put them all together because they're very related. So I'm just going to run through them real quick. Weren't your parents upset when you found your birth family? Well, at least you weren't aborted. But you don't call them, meaning your birth parents, mom and dad, do you? You should feel happy. She did what was best for you. Okay, so again, all of those dismiss the adoptee's need in favor of the birth parents or the adoptive parents' needs. Adoptees need to be able to make their own decisions about who they want in their lives, who they want and what roles in their lives, and how they feel about the people that are in their lives. You know, you wouldn't go up to a non-adoptee and go, man, you're glad, you should be glad you weren't aborted, or you should be grateful. I mean, I'm sure someone can pull up the off exception to that rule, but for the majority of the time, you don't say that to non-adopted people. That's something that is reserved for adopted people, but why should that make a difference? It's an awful thing to say. It's not fair. I'm not going around trying to tell anybody else who isn't an adoptee who their family is, or how they should feel about their family, or what they should do with their family. It's their decision to make. It's their life. I wish I were adopted. Really? Being removed from your biological family is a trauma. However you want to recognize it, or whether you choose not to recognize that fact, it doesn't matter. Being removed from your biological family, that's a trauma. And it can affect you for the rest of your life. So don't trivialize that trauma or anyone's pain or the experiences that they're having to go through because of that trauma, by saying you wish you were in their position. Again, would you say that to a rape victim? I wish I was raped. That's awful. Don't say that. Ever. Don't joke about rape. Okay, so, and here's an easy one. You're adopted, don't worry, you won't think any less of you. Why would you think less of someone because they were adopted? I'm trying to figure that one out. Alright, so, obviously there are a lot more I have to go through. For those of you that submitted them, you know, some of those threads got really, really long. I may or may not incorporate your exact quotes. Probably not. A lot of the ideas that I got seem to overlap each other. There are a lot of common themes, and the ones that are kind of common, I'm going to go through and just try to pick out, the main theme of those to express to people. If there's something you would definitely like to see me cover, then please suggest it in the comments. Other than that, again, I want to thank everybody for being extremely supportive. It's been just fantastic. Please don't stop. I'm really sad. But like I said, I'm not going to cry today. So, and there's no kitty to come and visit me at the end of this video. It's kind of sad. It's not my cat, by the way, but still, sweetie. So, okay. I will talk to you guys later.